Hello, this is Pastor Rick, and I want to welcome you to the Sunday Forum. In preparation for this Sunday, December the 15th, we have a marvelous topic, and here it is. Did Santa Claus slap a heretic? Did Santa Claus slap a heretic? Now, you might be kind of scratching your heads there, but we want to tell the real story of St. Nicholas. And when you hear the story, you'll realize St. Nicholas was a real historical figure, not the Santa Claus that we have all come to love or we have mixed feelings about. That came from a poem by Clement Clark Moore in 1822. The poem was entitled A Visit from St. Nicholas. We know it. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. And so our American traditions have formed around that poem, but their inheritance, the real power behind that poem in 1822 was the European tradition of recognizing St. Nicholas, a real historical figure, and a unique one because he unites, because of his witness to Christ, he unites Orthodox Christians, Catholic Christians, and Protestants. In fact, you know, in the Reformation, the Protestants hated all the saints and tried to get rid of all the saints, but they couldn't get rid of St. Nicholas because of all the wonderful traditions around children that had formed around this saint day on December the 6th. So let's ask the question then, who was St. Nicholas, the real St. Nicholas? Well, he was Greek, but he was born in Lycia, which is in present-day Turkey. And he was born in a very wealthy family, but early on his parents died, and he took all his wealth and gave it to the poor. So that's part of his witness to Christ, his generosity, and not just to children, as we'll hear, but to everyone. He became the Bishop of Myra, and very soon was placed into prison as part of the persecution of Emperor Diocletian. But when Constantine became emperor, he relieved all the Christians who had been put into prison. That was in 306 AD. And all of a sudden then the leadership of this Bishop Nicholas just emerged. He did not only great deeds of generosity and justice, but supposedly he did some miracles too. Okay, and so he became, through his witness to Christ and his leadership, so popular. Now listen to this, okay? He became the patron saint of children, that we can guess, sailors, we'll hear why, travelers, brewers, pawnbrokers, toy makers, unmarried people, students, and he is the patron saint of at least 3 countries of Russia, Greece, and Turkey. Okay, and then I have to say, yes, he did slap a heretic, Arius, at the Council of Nicaea in 325. We all know the Nicene Creed that we confess in church. The Nicene Creed, the first version, comes out of that meeting. And during the meeting, Santa Claus, old St. Nicholas, got into a fight with Arius the heretic, and he slapped him. More about that later. But first we want to see a more humorous rendition in memory of St. Nicholas. Enjoy the music.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you're a heretic. He will punch you in the face. All right, all jokes aside. That actually happened. I will read you this. This is quite fascinating. Legend has it, St. Nicholas, a bishop of Myra, struck Arius the heretic for denying the eternality of Christ and triune nature of God during his speech at the Council of Nicaea in AD 325. So deck the halls and apparently deck the heretics.
So if you look on the internet, you're going to see all sorts of both funny and serious photographs and memes about St. Nicholas because of this famous event in 325 AD. But let's just say St. Nicholas was famous and is famous for his witness to Christ for at least 5 reasons. Let me just review them really quickly. He saved 3 girls from prostitution by sneaking around the house and dropping bags of gold in their windows 3 nights in a row. That saved them from prostitution because it gave their fathers enough dowry money to pay off the dowry. He saved 3 sailors who had been wrongly condemned to death because of a bribe to the governor. And he found out about the bribery, went and stopped the execution, and became then the patron saint of sailors. He chopped down a tree which had been possessed by a demon in town, saving them from evil. He saved children from the horrors of a very evil butcher, and I won't go into the details of that story. But there are many other stories. In fact, often that he would calm storms on sea. Again, sailors enjoyed those stories very much. Another reason he became the patron saint of sailors. In fact, some of his stories almost resemble the powers of Poseidon, who had played such a role in the ancient world of Greece and Turkey. He was referred to as the Lord of the Sea. That tells you all you need to know. And so he died then on December 6, 343. And he celebrated, his sainthood is celebrated, became a big celebration in Europe. In fact, his bones were first buried in Myra, where he was a bishop. Then they were moved by a commercial guy to Bari, Italy. And then finally, his bones today are in Venice, Italy as well. So why did he slap Arius? As you can see from the meme here, deck the halls and deck the heretics. Well, Arius was a heretic because he did not acknowledge the divinity, the eternal divinity of Jesus. He said Jesus had been created by the Father. So the Father was superior and Jesus was the Son, meant an inferior being to the Father because the Father had created him. And that's what got Arius so agitated, and why we have the Nicene Creed where we say that Jesus is begotten, he's not made. In other words, he's not created. That all came as part of Arius's heresy and St. Nicholas's defense of the faith. And so, okay, here's 3 reasons why I think these stories are important. First of all, he's a wonderful memory, a very wonderful, powerful witness to generosity and justice, because he was known for both as a leader and as a bishop of his town. And that's been carried on in our celebrations. He was also a witness to defending the true faith, like what he did in Nicaea by slapping Arius. Not necessarily what we'd like to emulate in our church meetings here at Emmanuel, but it was an important witness at that time. And finally, December 6th is a way of being able to distinguish the real figure, St. Nicholas, from Santa Claus, this tradition that's really evolved here in the United States. In fact, that's been very important in my family. We inherited this tradition from Europe, where often St. Nicholas is the good guy, and then Sinterklaas is the bad guy who has some evil elves who will oppress bad, naughty children called Black Peters. And we got kind of incorporated into that tradition in Europe. But the key was we could celebrate Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, as a real figure on December the 6th, so that when we got all the way down to Christmas Eve and Christmas, no longer do we talk about Santa Claus. He'd already been celebrated as a real figure. Now our focus was on the baby Jesus. And so, by the way, Europeans still celebrate this today. In medieval times, they used to have boy bishops during this time where they would give all the power of the bishop or the clergy to young boys on the day to see what they would do with it. Generosity is still a big deal. Today, you put your shoes outside the door, and on the morning of December 6th, St. Nicholas Day, you would have all sorts of treats. Or if you were a bad boy or bad girl, coal. And of course, it's a way of leaving a legacy of witness. And so that's what we want to emphasize today. St. Nicholas, an example of generosity, an example of justice, an example of defending the faith, and a great way of celebrating this martyr and getting him as far away from Christmas as possible. And so, celebrate St. Nicholas. Yes, he slapped a heretic, but he's a wonderful witness to Christ to remember in this season. Thanks for joining us on the Sunday Forum. Bye-bye now.